welcome to the firm. On the show this week, two well-known corporate groups in the eye of a governance storm. Well, different storms, that is. The Andhra Pradesh High Court orders an interim stay on the $4 billion Sun-Ranbaxy deal on allegations of insider trading. And far away in London, Essar Energy's minority shareholders are fighting against the forced delisting of the London Stock Exchange-listed company. Our top story this week, the majority owns 78%. The remaining 22% is scattered between different groups of minority shareholders. The majority wants to delist. The minority is opposing that. The majority says the offer price is fair. The minority says, well, they're getting a raw deal. Another week, another majority-minority spat, only this time it's playing out in the UK. Paiswini Upadhyay reports on Essar Energy's takeover offer, its curious timing, and the remedies or options available to minority shareholders.
In 2010, the Ruya and Essar Group-led Essar Energy listed on the London Stock Exchange. It raised via an IPO 1.27 billion euros at a price of 420 pence per share. Since then, it's had mixed fortunes, with project delays leading to a fall in the stock price to 60 pence. It's only now that things are looking up for some of its projects. Meanwhile, a FTSE-imposed rule required all constituent companies to ensure a minimum 25% free float by March 2014. That would have entailed a 2% reduction in stake for Essar Energy's promoters. Instead, in February this year, the promoters decided to take the company private. They could have done it in two ways: via a cancellation of listing or delisting offer, which requires a 75% shareholder approval. Given the promoter's 78% stake, this offer would have easily passed, except that it would have left the 22% minority with unlisted shares. So the Ruyas chose instead to announce a takeover offer to purchase that 22% minority stake at 70 pence a share.
If a company decides it wants to delist at the moment, the rule requires the company to send a circular to shareholders and requires a vote of 75% of those voting. Now, if a company is taken over, the percentage is the same, the 75%, but there's no requirement for the company to send a circular or to have a shareholder vote, because effectively shareholders are voting by accepting the offer.
It would reflect badly on the corporate governance at Essar if they did not give minority shareholders a chance to exit while proposing a delisting. That would be quite normal in this market, and indeed it would be very unusual to propose a delisting without giving minority shareholders some opportunity to exit, even if it's at a low price.
And it's this low price that has faced stiff opposition from the Association of British Insurers, or ABI, one of the largest shareholder groups in the UK. ABI represents minority shareholders owning 8.6% stake in Essar Energy and has been agitating against the offer price, especially as it believes the company's prospects are finally improving. And so ABI has made representations to the UK government and the Indian High Commissioner, saying Essar's move will damage the integrity of the UK market and Indian companies. Essar's promoters counter that they are offering shareholders a 17% premium to the market price. But ABI remains unconvinced by the price and the process.
One of our principal concerns is that the disclosure in the original prospectus did not make it clear that the majority shareholder would be able to delist even if there was a failed offer. That is precisely our problem.
ABI has the backing of none other than the independent committee of Essar Energy's board. In response to Essar's offer, the committee of independent directors has said the offer by the promoters materially undervalues the company and its prospects. It has recommended Essar's shareholders take no action on the offer.
At this stage, there aren't many remedies available to them because Essar's acted entirely within the rules here. There is a possibility of applying to the court on the grounds that Essar, as the majority shareholder, is behaving in a manner which is oppressive to the minority. But that sort of challenge is extremely rare in the context of a public company in the UK, where the majority shareholder has acted in accordance with the listing rules and the takeover code, which Essar has been very careful to do here.
It's not the first time that minority shareholders in the UK have been aggrieved via a delisting done via a takeover offer. Just last year, Eurasian Natural Resources Corp, or ENRC, successfully delisted from the London Stock Exchange in spite of minority opposition to the takeover offer price. With its largest shareholder, Kazakh government, on board, ENRC's founders managed to delist the company.
It was a very similar scenario in as much as there was an independent committee of the board, and that independent committee of the board was against the offer and wrote a very similar circular to the one that has been written by the independent board committee of Essar, asking shareholders to reject the offer. But interestingly, they also warned of the risks of rejecting the offer, that if the company was delisted, you would end up with shares in an unlisted company with no liquidity and no real control and no governance anymore as such. And so that offer actually ended up going through.
The ENRC offer went through, but it also prompted the UK's Financial Conduct Authority to rework its delisting rules. To protect the interests of minority shareholders in companies with a controlling shareholder, the FCA has notified stringent conditions for both cancellation of listing or delisting offers and takeover offers. Under the new rules, if a company wants to delist, not only does it need 75% shareholder approval, it also needs approval from a majority of independent shareholders. Takeover offers will also need approval from the majority of the minority, except in the case where the offerer has more than 80%. Interestingly, these changes will become effective May 16th and hence may impact Essar's offer as well if it hasn't closed.
It was expected that new FCA rules would only come into force later in the year, probably in the autumn. The fact is that the FCA has accelerated, the FCA board has accelerated consideration of this, and as previously announced, these new rules, or some new rules, will come into force probably with effect from 16th of May, and so that they will be caught by the 80% rule.
Even with the regulators on their side, it seems like a tough battle for minority shareholders. There are 3-4 possibilities going forward. Essar extends the takeover offer as the rules allow it to do so up to 60 days from the time the offer was made. 2, even if Essar extends the offer, the minority shareholders do not tender their shares and the offer fails. 3, after a failed offer, Essar may try to acquire 2% shares to reach the 80% threshold, which I am told will not be an uphill task given that the funds that have invested in Essar Energy would want to exit the stock lest it becomes illiquid. Or 4, Essar ups the offer price and salvages its image. We'll know what option Essar chooses soon, as it is likely to make an announcement in the next couple of days. In Mumbai, Paiswini Upadhyay.
Well, that's Essar Energy in the eye of a storm. And we'll be watching the weather closely here on the farm. Right now, let's head into a quick break. When we come back, the Andhra Pradesh High Court orders an interim stay on the $4 billion Sangh-Ranbaxy deal on allegations of insider trading.